One and done, Chicago Blackhawks edition. Welcome back to another episode. At this point, you should know the deal. One season to win it all. We can do whatever we want to this team, except we are limited to just 3 trades to avoid going completely overboard with every single team. Now, the Chicago Blackhawks are an interesting team to talk about because you could argue that there's not a lot that needs to be done. At least in a video game context. Of course, real life it might be a little bit different, but obviously Chicago had a very interesting time in the bubble. That said, this is the team that we are starting off with, and I'm intrigued to see how they do. A top line of Drake Caggiula with Dylan Strome and Patrick Kane. A second line of Alex Nylander, Alex DeBrincat, and Dominic Kubalik. Third line of Kirby Dach, Jonathan Toews, and Brandon Saad. And a fourth line of Andrew Shaw, Ryan Carpenter, and Zach Smith. So no +5s, but obviously a very well-rounded team chemistry-wise. You know, seeing Toews get bumped down to the third line could hurt a little bit, but that center depth is certainly interesting because of that. Defensively, 2 +5s, but we'll see how it does. Brent Seabrook and Adam Boqvist, the second pairing of Connor Murphy and Duncan Keith. Third pairing, Slater Koekkoek and Olli Mata. The goaltender, of course, as you know, Corey Crawford is with Malcolm Subban. Yes, I wish Robin Leonard was here alongside, but hey, who knows? Maybe Malcolm Subban will go off for us like I wish he went off for the Bruins when they drafted him. God, I wanted him to be so good. For the Bruins, he was okay. So that said, we're going to do what we always do. We're going to get right down to business. We're going to sim through the opening 2 months or so with this team, and at that point, we'll know whether or not changes are overly necessary to this team. I won't be reactionary and look to immediately address the weak points on paper because it's just that. It's weak points on paper. We may, in fact, find that some of our lower-rated players actually end up being some of the better players on the team. It certainly wouldn't surprise me to see someone like Alex Nylander actually do relatively well in the position that we've put him in on the second line. I don't know why I singled out Alex Nylander, but you get the point. He is one of the lower-rated players on the team. And of course, the reason why we sim early on is because we don't try to be overly reactionary. If a player has 4 points in 10 games, it's like, yeah, it looks pretty good. But then from there, it's, a little bit difficult to say, So we'll see. We'll see what's up. We'll see how this goes. I mean, the opening month has been interesting, but obviously that can fall apart at a moment's notice, right? So we'll see how this one goes for us and if we can actually keep winning games. And Chicago, I think, is going to be a very interesting team for us in this series to begin with because they so often find success in Season 1. I mean, as I mentioned, when it comes to NHL 20 at least, with the way this plays out, I think so often you see some teams that you wouldn't expect to do well in this game because obviously it's a little bit different to real life, but there you go. So we end that first 2-month stretch by being atop the Central, 19-7-0. Patty Kane has 31 points in 26 games. Caggiula hanging in there, not exactly someone you want on the top line, but 18 points in 26 games. Strome with 23 points in that time, and of course Kane leading the way. Second line, Nylander's okay with 13 points. DeBrincat doing significantly better. Kubalik, 11 goals already to this point, 20 points. Kirby Dach's been pretty good. I mean, the defensive, the plus-minus could be questioned, but it's not out of control. Fourth line, 12 points for Shaw. Ryan Carpenter's killing it, as is Zach Smith. I really don't have any complaints. I mean, yeah, we could use someone better than Drake Caggiula on paper. But when the team's doing well and Brent Seabrook's a +21, yeah, no, things are going okay. Things are going all right. I don't think we have any reason to be concerned. Look at Malcolm Subban going off, as mentioned. There you go. Right now, the top goalie for us in terms of save percentage. So we're going to be able to make very quick progress here through the opening stages of this season. Let's go to January. We'll take it a month at a time up to the deadline and see what happens from there, right? So no real concerns, I'd say, for me at this point. Let's see how the next month goes for us here. A little bit shaky, but a winning record to start. Arizona is apparently our kryptonite. That's good to know, I guess. Still 25-11. Not a single overtime or shootout loss yet, though, which could come back to haunt us in the standings. We have some shootout and overtime wins, but no Bettman/pity points. 29-12-0, top team in the division. Let's just keep going to February. There's no reason at all to change this up right now. We're good. Let's keep going. We'll see. Of course, I think Caggiula and Nylander were the two that really would have stood out in terms of what we needed to do, what we needed to potentially address as we finally get a pity point. But 5 points above the Avalanche. They did have a couple games at hand. But right now, I have no real complaints. We get to the Totally Not All-Star break on a really good point streak after that second game, really the first game against Calgary this month, though. 37-13-1. This team is doing as well as I thought it would have. Top of the division. 2 games in hand there for Colorado, but when you have Patrick Kane with 63 points in 51 games, it's tough to complain. As Caggiula, 35 points in 51 games, I can't complain about that. We could get somebody better, but he's doing fine. 47 points for Strome has been great. Then again, Kane's crushing it. 27 points for Nylander. No real complaints there. DeBrincat looking good. Kubalik looking good. There is, what is there to change right now? What is there to change with this team? What, get somebody better, for the top line? Maybe. I don't see, Jesus Christ, that top pairing in terms of plus minus. Maybe a slightly better third pairing in terms of overall at least. But it's not as if it's abysmal and needs to be addressed right now. The goaltending is not insane, but it's tough to bank on a higher rated goalie to actually be insane in this mode. I think we just sim to the trade deadline here. I'm not saying that this is going to be the first team that we make no changes for, but this is certainly the first time that I'm ever going to sim to the trade deadline without having made a single move. We'll see what happens. We'll see who's available at that stage and really what we have to look to do. So I'm intrigued. We are slipping up a little bit this month. We'll see how the games against Calgary and Winnipeg go here. Maybe this will facilitate a move being made. Losing to Calgary. We beat Winnipeg a week later. 3 games left before the deadline. Colorado has jumped us, though, because of a bit of a meh run of form here in the middle of the month. But 2 wins in a row. Can we make it 3? The answer is no. But 42-18-2. Currently in second place in the division because Colorado, of course, 4 points clear, really 2 points clear at the very least. But, you look at that compared to Nashville. We are just running away with having home ice in some form this season. This postseason, I should say. So, when we look here, Drake Caggiula. Should you be a top-line player for us? Probably not. He doesn't necessarily fit in anywhere else, though. Strome on 57 points looking good. Kane's obviously looking great. And Alex Nylander, 35 points is decent. It's not quite where I want a second-line player. Obviously, you look at DeBrincat, you look at Kubalik, that's more like it. Kirby Dach's been pretty damn good for a third liner. Defensively, I'm a bit worried about that line, but everything else is fine. And then the fourth line, oh my God. Ryan Carpenter has 37 points. He has power play time, but Jesus Christ, that fourth line's been incredible. So at the very least, Drake Caggiula, I think, is the guy that we're looking at to see if we could get, oh my God, this second pairing is going to set records. I think Drake Caggiula and someone to replace Slater Cuckoo. So we have all 3 trades available to us here. Goaltending, I'm not even going to bother making changes because we might as well just run with it. goaltending in franchise mode is so inconsistent. It's like, what's the point? I guess I could bring in somebody else. Anaheim apparently traded for Ryan Strome. Now, we're not, of course, as always, we're not limited to trading for people who are on the block, but for me, it's just less of a headache. And of course, rosters are updated, so you see Eric Stahl on Buffalo. But obviously, it's less of a headache to just trade for someone who's available here in this way. So looking for a top-notch forward, a top-notch defenseman. Spurgeon doesn't fit. And like I said, the good thing is we could do, trades that only involve picking up one player in return. Matt Barzal doesn't fit the team, but I think we bring in Matt Barzal. And Ryan Pulock is here as well. Yes, there we go. There's our trade. Barzal and Pulock, no doubt about it. I mean, Bailey fits the first line too, and you could argue even maybe Josh Bailey. So it'd be Barzal on no value or on no chemistry, but Josh Bailey fits the team. We could even look to bring in Brock Nelson. As Nick Leddy fits the team as well. I mean, we could bring in Pulock to replace Cuckoo, and then Leddy as a depth option. Anders Lee also fits all lines. And Lee has 26 damn goals. Interesting. Goalies on the block? Thomas Greiss, who's done well when he's played. So that top line. You could argue Matt Barzal. He's not going to have chemistry, but it's Matt frickin' Barzal. Josh Bailey, who would have chemistry. Brock Nelson is overruled by Anders Lee as a depth option in case someone shits the bed in the playoffs. And then Nick Leddy could be brought in as a depth defenseman as well. Obviously, a trade's more likely if we go for Leddy, Lee, Bailey, Pulock, or Pulock, and leave Barzal out of it. So, the third pairing, top line, depth, and depth. That is a shit ton of salary to take on. I'm going to try to get them to retain. Yeah, I mean, as much as I'd like to bring in, as much as I'd like to bring in Barzal, there's no reason why Josh Bailey can't do the business on that top line. No reason at all. The question is, who are we giving up to make this deal happen? And Nick Bedan and Ian Mitchell are the top two options for sure. So there we'd have too many skaters. And for the hell of it, of course, I don't think I'm going to do a secondary move. So we could add Ian Mitchell. And obviously I don't have to care about missing out on trade value. Doesn't make a difference to me. And Calvin DeHaan, I suppose, is... I should have mentioned him earlier. He's the one guy who didn't fit this defense in terms of chemistry. Sending him back to the Islanders doesn't seem like the worst deal in the world. Add David Camp. And the final deal, the final part of the deal, Pius Suter. I'd be over the cap. Interesting. Because obviously Greiss would just kind of be an insurance policy. Who could I add to the deal to not be over the cap? Or I just get them to retain more salary, which is a safer bet. See if I can get them to also retain on Leddy. Now, it says they can only retain twice, so this might not be allowed to go through. So, Chicago would have too many players in the org, so I'd have to add somebody else of decent value and hope that those two are enough to push it through. What about Regula? He's on an exempt contract. That doesn't count. Should have known better. Evan Barrett. I'd still be over the cap. So I think we take out Greiss. I still like the idea of bringing in this group of four. We have retained salary on these guys. Let me add retained salary on Bailey too, and then if I add in another prospect or pick, we should be fine. So it says the Islanders would be over. It still shows that we'd be over, which is crazy to me. Who the hell would we add to the deal? Because I don't want to mess up the current team. Subban's making $3 million because there's some sort of retained salary in the mix. Islanders have too many goalies. Okay, now what if we go back? If I go to Grice, I'd be over the cap. What if I go for Chris Gibson? If this goes through, I'm taking it. I don't think it will. Yeah, it won't because the value is just too much. Right. Like I said, I like Leddy and Lee as depth options. At the very least, I mean, it's between Bailey and Lee for who I'd want on that top line. 48 points for Josh Bailey. Anders Lee with the 26 goals. So say we take out Leddy at the very least. That would go through as it stands. Let me see. They probably wouldn't be willing to retain salary on Lee. Or we just go for Pollock and Barzell. I think I might change it up and go for Barzell here. Instead of worrying about chemistry, which is only a +3 anyway. Let's go for Barzell. They'd be over the cap, which is fine. I can take out Dahan. So it would mainly be these two in a trade-off. Would this go through? No, but it's going to be close. This is the move that we may be looking back on and saying, I should have gone the other way if we fall short, or it's going to be one that we look back on and say, thank God we did that. Done deal. Done deal. I still want to find a backup goalie, a third option that we could bring in. But for the most part there, and we can still use Cuckoo and Kajula as depth options. You know, Ryan Miller's not doing too bad. We can still use Cuckoo and Kajula as depth options on the team. Yeah, see, goaltending is just such a damn crapshoot, man. Like Francouz is there. I think we're going to be fine. So with that, obviously now listed as champions, as if we weren't going to be to begin with. But yeah, now we can have Cuckoo stick around, and Kajula can stick around, but obviously Barzell will be moved to that top line. And he'll be alongside Kane and Strome, for God's sakes. We will play him on the left. Definitely more of a playmaker than a sniper anyway. So imagine Patrick Kane now with that talent, what he might be able to do. And then on that third pairing, we'll move in Ryan Pollock. And if we make him a DFD, which he's not, but if we make him a DFD, we should have a +5 there. So that'll be the game plan. We significantly improved this roster. We still technically have 2 more trades we could make, but I don't think we need anything from there. I mean, I think we'll be perfectly fine. So just for the sake of chemistry, now they did actually end up signing Barzell to an extension. That's why I guess that's why the money situation looked like what it was. As I'm totally not responding to someone on Twitter. But yeah, well, there we go. Matt Barzell in a Hawks uniform. It's beautiful. And then we'll go and change Ryan Pollock to a defensive defenseman for the sake of chemistry. And this team, I do wonder if it's going to mess with the team at all. But the key here is that we didn't get rid of the players that they're replacing. So worst case scenario, all of a sudden this team starts to underperform. We just slot in the other players. Rather than having... I still kind of like the idea of trading for Lee and trading for Bailey. Man, we have a +5 now on that top line. Hot damn. No power forward necessary either, because so many of them are all 3 of them are perfect fits. Good Lord, that line should dominate. And then it's a +5 there on the third pairing too. We should be perfectly fine. I mean, you could talk about like, oh, well, Kirby Dach's underperforming. Maybe get Bailey or Lee. But actually, now that I say that, but then Kajula could slot in, but then I don't really trust Kajula. Can I afford this? Can I afford this? They're no longer moving Bailey or Lee. Okay, we're good. We're good. That's it. One trade is all we're making. But it's a blockbuster. And this team is set up as good as any team I think we've had to potentially go on a solid playoff run here. The spot is almost secured already. It's just a matter of what's going to happen here once we get into the postseason. So we'll see what we got. Now 45, 20, and 3. 3 straight losses, including 2 very high goals against totals there. Oh, goodness. Come on. Ugh, this has been a horrible month here. Colorado's run away with the division in that time. Let's take a look. At how the new additions, I apparently went to coaching. Let's take a look at how the new additions have done with the team since we've added them. So Matt Barzal, 10 points in 14 games. Can't say he hasn't fit in. How about Pelican Mata? 4 points and a -1, so not too bad. Maybe the rest of the team is just kind of crashing back down to reality a little bit. It's tough to say. We're going to see what happens here over the next few weeks, right? So it's Pittsburgh here. Let's see what we got. Shootout win. I'll take it. Looking for win number 50 against Dallas. 5 games left. We beat Dallas. I mean, we're guaranteed home ice against either Minnesota or Dallas in the playoffs. Colorado has been unbelievable. Although that said, we're only 4 points back, but there's 3 games left. They have 1 more win in the overtime losses. There we go. We lose to Montreal. So Colorado is going to secure their spot as the top team in the West. And with 1 game left to go, we're going to be taking on, is it going to be Minnesota or Dallas? The answer is Minnesota. So we draw the Wild in round 1 of the playoffs. They just beat Dallas by a point. Nashville 3 points out. They're going to be on the outside looking in. Let's take a look at our team really quickly, and then we will get down to business. Postseason has arrived. So again, you get a look there. Let's take a look at the Pacific. It's Calgary, Arizona, Vegas, and Vancouver. And the Atlantic, Tampa, Boston, Montreal, Florida, and Buffalo. And in the Metro, Pittsburgh, Philadelphia. And the Islanders still made the playoffs despite trading 2 of their best. We were the 3rd best team in the league. So I mean, one hell of a season. All things considered for us. It just sucks that Colorado is as good as they are. Goals for, we have the 3rd best offense behind Colorado and Tampa. Goals against was a .298, which is mid-table. So that's kind of where we get to be in a little bit of trouble, as our defense and goaltending isn't exactly what we'd want it to be. But we take a look here. I mean, Kane is insane. DeBrincat, very strong season. Strome, very strong season. Yeah, it's tough to be unhappy. I'd say Nylander, maybe an extra deal to get somebody better than Nylander on the second line would have been the way to go. Maybe Drake Caggiula, though he doesn't have the chemistry. Maybe we did screw up a little bit. Maybe we did, but 2 members of our 4th line scored more points than Doc and Sod, so, I mean, they let us down a little bit. Plus 57 for Boqvist, Jesus. There are some aspects of this team now that I look at and I'm like, okay, maybe we could have done better. Maybe we should have made an extra move or 2. But once you get down to the playoffs, I mean, you can sit there and talk about, we could have perfected the lineup. At the end of the day, this lineup, is this Stanley Cup caliber? Yes. It's just whether or not we're going to get there. So let's find out. Let's take a look at the Minnesota lineup here. It is Fiala, Marcus Johansson, and Matt Zuccarello, Parise, Galchenyuk, Kaprizov, Greenway, Donato, Frolik, Foligno, Rask, and Hartman. Defensively, Suter, Spurgeon, Brodin, Dumba, Suchi, and Patarin. Of course, Brodin has his new contract. We have him set up as one of the best defensive players in the game by default. And Devin Dubnyk with Alex Stalock. It's Eriksson Ek, Bjukstad, and Luke Cunnin there as well. So we should be okay. This should be a win. No doubt about it. Solid team. We're clearly better. For the love of God, let us get a W here. Game 1, first period. Minnesota takes the lead with Galchenyuk's goal. Second period, it's now 3-0. Foligno and Zuccarello. Third period, we just lost 7-0. Spurgeon, Kaprizov, Parise, and Victor Rask. Let's calendar sim this one. We won't jump into the main menu or into the in-depth sim here. Game 2, we win 7-4. Let's sim from here again. So 1-1 split. Game 3, 4-0. Okay, I think we learned the Methador of madness here. We've crushed them over the last 2 games. Game 4, we lose in overtime. So it's a 2-2 split in this series thus far. Let's hope we can take this in 6. First period of Game 5, 2-1. Taves and Doc, Greenway for them. Second period is not scoreless. Donato scored shorthanded. And in the third, we're going to overtime. Mojo scores. Kane scores. Who's taking Game 5? The answer, thank God, is Chicago. Alex DeBrincat gets the goal. So there we go. We are 1 win away from moving on to the second round. Minnesota's made this difficult for us. But we'll see what happens in Game 6. 8-win difference between the two teams. Game 6 goes to the Wild. I don't know why I switched up the formula. We go to Game 7. Is it over? First period, scoreless. Second period, Chicago with the lead, DeBrincat. Third period, we're going to the second round. Alex DeBrincat is your hero. A shutout victory. 32 saves for Corey Crawford. Maybe he's your hero, and we outlast Minnesota. They still can't really make it past the first round consistently. And in that second round, we will be taking on Vancouver, who upset the number 1 seed Avs in the first round. So, in theory, it could be an easier path, but obviously the Hawks have an interesting history with the Canucks. You get a look at the point totals here through that first round. And, the bottom 6 left a bit to be desired there. Defensively, when Brent Seabrook's leading the way and Ole Mata has no points, that's a horrible situation. Corey Crawford he showed up at the end, but boy does he need to improve here. Please, for the love of God. Otherwise, we're not making it past the Canucks. Let's take a look at their lineups here for the second round matchup. It is Horvat on the wing with Pettersson and Besser. Second line of Tanner Pearson, JT Miller, and Tyler Toffoli. A third line of Louis Eriksson, Michael Furland, and Sven Berchke. And a fourth line of Antoine Roussel, Josh Levo, and Jake Virtanen. Defensively, it's Alex Edler and Tyler Myers. Second pairing of Quinn Hughes with Chris Tanev, and a third pair, Ben Hutton and Troy Stetcher. The goalie is Markstrom still because, of course, no real surprise there. Let's see what happens. Let's get this over and done with. If I don't sound optimistic, it's because history's a thing, and we know how this goes. I'm going to calendar sim Game 1, and it goes to Vancouver, so that was clearly a mistake. That's great. So we're down 1-0 in this series early on. No real surprise. Let's see what happens in Game 2. I'm kind of surprised we got past Minnesota, if I'm being honest. First period, 2-1, Strome and Carpenter, Virtanen for them. Second period, 3-1, DeBrincat's been amazing. And third period, DeBrincat scores again. So a 1-1 split, Crawford doing well. Let's see what happens here in Game 3. I'm going to calendar sim this one as well. Tempting fate. We won 8-0. Never mind, it's fine. Game 4 is a loss, so a 2-2 series split. Game 5 goes to Chicago. Game 6, We're moving on to the conference final. Beautiful. We'll be playing Calgary. It's Boston and Philadelphia on the other side. Good stuff. Let's take a look here. The updated point total. So it's still Strome and DeBrincat really leading the way. Kane, of course, as well. Jonathan Taves performing in the playoffs like he does. Barzal doing very well. Yeah, just all in all, that was a fantastic team effort. Obviously, still the bottom six is a little bit quiet in some ways. Duncan Keith is now our leading scorer. Thank God. Ole Mata, an offensive defenseman, still does not have a single point. He's taken 23 shots. The key there was Corey Crawford stepping up. He went, from a 9.04 to a 9.24? If he can do that, we might just make it all the way here. Let's take a look at Calgary. 2 series wins down. 2 more to go. The Flames look like this. Johnny Gaudreau, Elias Lindholm, and Matthew Tkachuk. Backlund, Monahan, Ryan. Man, Ryan, 8 assists, huh? Third line, Andrew Mangiapane, Sam Bennett with 7 goals, and Milan Lucic. So Bennett and Lucic working well together. Fourth line, Dylan Dubé, Mark Jankowski, and Toby Reeder. It's what you would expect from Calgary, really. Defensively, it's Giordano and Hannafin. Gustafsson with Brody. Hainsey was acquired. He's with Hamonic. Goaltender is Riddick, 903. Talbot, and 807 when he played. So, gotta love the squeaky chair, by the way. So, not too bad. I mean, our goaltending edge will hopefully be enough. I'm going to send this again from the calendar. We're doing pretty well. And we lose game 1 by the score of 3-0. Let's see how game 2 goes. Please don't blow this. 3-2 loss. Okay, we've been outscored 6-2 to start this series. Game 3, we win 8-4. Much better. Game 4, 5-1 win. Very, very good. So the home team has yet to win. Game 5, a 5-4 overtime loss. Are we going to blow this and lose to the Calgary Flames in the conference final? Please, God, don't do this. First period, 2-0 Flames, Tkachuk and Dubé. Second period, we tie it, Smith and Murphy. Here we go. Will there be a Game 7? There'll be an overtime at least. Saad and Gustafsson. Weird to see Gustafsson on Calgary. OT. Have we blown it to the Flames in 6 games, or are we forcing a Game 7? Trading power plays, and not a shorthanded goal, but Carpenter wins it. Game 7 coming up. Scores the moment the power play ended. And it comes down to Game 7, so clearly we can't menu sim this. On the other side, who's it going to be? It's a Game 7 there, too, between Boston and Philadelphia. Will it be a 2010 rematch, a 2013 rematch, or a first-time ever combination? Let's find out. First period goal for us. Taves with it. Second period, we get another one for Saad. Third period, and for the first time, spoiler alert, for the first time in this series, we are going to the Stanley Cup final. For anyone who hadn't seen those first few episodes, are they worth watching now? Probably not, but hey, I said it. Or am I lying? Who's to say? You can never quite know. It will be a rematch of the 2013 final because, of course, it's Chicago and Boston. And I either have to hope for success with this team or hope for the Bruins to win, which, yeah, you know what I'm hoping for. I mean, this team has been insane. You know, the top 6 absolutely delivering. Kirby Dach's been much better than he was in the regular season. Defensively, Brent Seabrook is playing like he was in 2013, so that's probably good news for us. He has 11 points. Ole Mata doesn't have a single point. And goaltending-wise, Crawford has been inconsistent, but he's been solid. Will it be enough for us to win? Let's find out, shall we? Bruins lineup, though. Before we do anything, what does this team look like? It is Marchand, Bergeron, Pasternak, no surprise, DeBrusk, Krejci, and Kasha, Nick Ritchie, Charlie Coyle, and Anders Bjork, Per Lindholm, Sean Corrali, and Chris Wagner. So no surprises at all. Defensively, it is Krug and McAvoy, Grizzly Carlo, Chara is with John Moore, and they've been amazing. Goaltender, Tuukka Rask, 923. Do I root for series success? Do I root for the Bruins? Game 1 goes to Chicago, 1-0. Game 2 goes to Chicago, 4-3. Game 3 goes to Boston, 6-1. All right, so the home team's yet to lose. Game 4, until now, 5-2. We have a 3-1 series lead. And from the looks of it, as the Rockford Ice Hogs made the Calder Cup final, by the way, so the double was at stake. We have a 1-0 lead. DeBrincat scores. From the looks of it, the Chicago Blackhawks are going to do the thing. Brandon Saad scores on the power play. This is tragic. The first time, or is it? The first time we win in this damn series. And we're going to do it with Chicago, who nobody wants to see win. And we're going to do it against Boston. Because, of course, how else would this possibly go? Might as well just wear the Winter Classic jerseys here, right? Why don't we? I love that Boston Winter Classic jersey. Chicago, it's okay. It's all right. It could be better. It could be better. I actually kind of want to get it because it doesn't necessarily look like a Blackhawks jersey, which makes it look pretty good. But yeah, I might already have that Chicago jersey I like the most anyway. So, what are you going to do? So here we go. Let's see it happen. 1:16 on the clock. We made one trade in this run, but it proved to be the best trade we could have possibly made. We acquire Matt Barzal and Ryan Pulock from the Islanders. And the rest of the team, as we suspected, was good enough. Corey Crawford, what a save. The rest of the team we suspected was good enough to get the job done. And that is indeed the case. We don't need to see them taking the cup out of the box with no security there, as if a fan wouldn't try something. This is the same crowd that stole someone's bucket off of their head a couple of years ago. But yeah, no, nothing like watching the Bruins not win the cup. That's great. Marchand, blocker saved by Crawford. Brent Seabrook turns it over. That's more like the Brent Seabrook we know and love, but Corey Crawford's playing out of his skull right now, stopping this Bruins top line from scoring. Kane to Boqvist. I don't think they have an empty net. Barzal back to Kane. Shoots. Kick saved by Rask. 30 seconds to go. I should be happier than this. We have found success with these one-and-done challenges. However, at what cost? To my personal happiness, as Crawford is going to hold on to that one. So just when you think the Hawks dynasty is over. But yeah, like I said, when we started this team seemed like one of the teams that could actually be good enough at the start. We almost own goal it. That could actually be good enough at the start, just with the way they're built and how you see Chicago normally perform in the first year franchise mode, even if in real life they're not as good as they've been in the past. But yeah, we are going to reap the rewards of this. 7 seconds to go. It's a tragedy, I tell you. An absolute tragedy. But we won, so is it? This is the way it had to happen. I can't truly be happy. But we did win. And it's, oh God, yep. All right. You watch, they're going to program Brad Marchand crying into the game next. And then there'll be a fan in the crowd holding a big picture of my face, and there'll be tears. And it's going to be, I'm done with this.